Between the years 1977 and 1979, Peggy Hodgson and her 4 children, Margaret, Janet, Johnny, and Billy, were allegedly haunted by at least one malevolent entity.
Well, it's finally time to talk about The Conjuring 2. For the longest time, I knew that this movie was my favorite in the entire Conjuring universe, just really never pinpointed out as to why. Rewatching it for the first time in almost 9 years, which is even crazy to think about, I know why. The movie is based on the Enfield poltergeist that took place in the 1970s as we follow the Hodgson family after a series of paranormal events happened in their home. After word got out, this case was deemed as the UK version of the Amityville house. James Wan came back to direct The Conjuring 2 after claiming to be done with the horror genre after The Conjuring and Insidious 2 and took a break to direct Furious 7. WB really wanted James Wan to come back to direct this film that they pushed their release date from October 23rd, 2015 to June 6, 2016, and I am so glad that they did. James Wan is a master at creating tension and real jump scares that's what is lacking in The Conjuring 3. He takes the best parts of The Conjuring and amps it up even more. While you go into these movies for the jump scares and the thrills, the heartbeat of this movie are the Hodgson family. Ed and Lorraine Warren almost feel like background characters and characters that you can almost really removed from this movie because the majority of this movie is just spent with this family and seeing what they're going through, getting to know them, getting to care about them, so that when the supernatural elements of this movie come in, you do want to care about these characters so that nothing bad happens. And that's kind of the same thing that I felt about the first Conjuring film. While Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga are great as the Warrens, the real star of the movie is Madison Wolfe. A lot of this movie is hinged on her performance, and a lot of it is on her shoulders because she has a lot more to do than anybody else in this movie. From trying to convince us that she's being possessed by this old man that died forever ago in this house on a specific couch in this home, to the moments when she needs to be scared and frightened. Her performance is what elevates this movie to really getting you to care about this character because when a lot of the supernatural elements happen, it does come with a lot of great tension, a lot of great scares. You have to buy her performance in order to even remotely care about this character, and she pulled it off. I didn't know this until after I saw the movie that she's not really from the UK. Her British accent is phenomenal. It makes her performance even better. The Warrens, like I mentioned before, are more like background characters. I like how this movie was kind of almost divided into two movies all at once. You have Lorraine that is kind of protective of Ed because she had a vision of him dying, so she's trying to be really protective of him while also getting visions of the nun, which was added at the last second and made a long standing impression that we got two Nun movies. Patrick and Vera are so good in their role that I sometimes forget that they are portraying real people, and for the most part, they are portraying real cases that for the most part you can have your pick about whether or not you believe these are actual cases that actually happened or if they were fabricated into something more, but they play these roles so well. The chemistry between these two makes even the so Conjuring movies watchable. It's just their performances together, they have such wonderful chemistry that even in a so movie like The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, they are the highlight of those films, and they just do the best they can with the material that they are given, and they just use that to their advantage. For the most part, a lot of the jump scares and tensions are warranted. I don't think there is a moment where I felt like a jump scare was not needed. The best part about James Wan and what makes him a master as craft isn't the cheap loud bangs, it's the way that he just lets the tension build. He knows when to place the tensions and make you look for something that isn't there, and even at adding some background images like the scene where Lorraine is with her daughter in the living room, and then in the background, you can just see Valak spelt out. Just adding small things like that just really brighten up a little bit more and makes you look at something that you are not supposed to be looking at or foreshadows something that happens later on in the film. But even the sequence with the crooked man where you have Billy about to let his dog out because it keeps barking, then you slowly get the transformation of the crooked man and you have him chasing Billy, only for it to be revealed that it was a possessed Janet. Just small things like that is what enhance movies like these and what makes him great at creating such wonderful set pieces, great tension, and just adding small things like that is what makes it really worthwhile. While I don't mind the look of the Crooked Man, I do kind of wish it wasn't all CGI. I wish they used a body fragmentation like Doug Jones that is great when he is used in those proportions, and then add a little bit of CGI to make it a little bit more creepier and a little bit more ascendant. That way you can get a really nice full effect of the Crooked Man. Ever since this movie came out, I have been begging for a Crooked Man standalone movie. I know we gotten two Nun movies. I'm still waiting for my Crooked Man movie. Out of any character in this movie, I hope that they are able to do something great with this character. And then I look at the Nun 1 and 2 and I'm like, maybe I don't really want it. Maybe I should just let it be alone. Now, there has always been a debate about whether or not this case was a hoax case, with the real Janet and her siblings claiming that they did fake a lot of the supernatural elements. The thing that I have always loved about this movie, where it flicks at one side of your brain and has that compelling thought about whether or not this was actually a hoax and a lot of this was planned and a lot of this was faked. I love the fact that it kind of flipped that switch of making you think maybe it was real, maybe it was fake, even though they have came out that they faked a lot of the supernatural elements. There has been reports that some of the supernatural elements were not faked and they really don't have an answer as to what really happened in its entirety. I think the Warrens were on this case for like a day and then they just dipped. So there was that debate about whether or not this was a real thing that actually happened or just one that was faked for attention. That's something that I really loved about this movie. And rewatching it again, it's still one of the elements that I do love about this movie. I love the fact that it does make me conflicted about whether or not I should believe this case, which is what you should do in some of these based on true stories. It should conflict you on whether or not it actually happened or if it did happen. The fact that it delved into those elements here, it's one that I really love and I appreciate a little bit more on a second rewatch. The movie does run into a bit of a pacing issue towards the second act, and I remember why I almost didn't like it the first time that I watched it, because this was one of those rare times when I wasn't going to the movies as much for personal reasons, and so I didn't know how long this movie was. I just assumed that it was 2 hours, and when I found out that it was 2 hours and 14 minutes, it just felt like it was a never ending movie. Second act has a lot of pacing issues, especially when you have like the UK version of the Warrens coming in to investigate this whole mystery going on because they do believe that it's a hoax and they believe that a lot of it is faked for attention. When they are brought in, you can almost replace the Warrens entirely with them and just have them be the Warren version. I know these movies are based on a lot of the Warrens' real actual cases. I just wish they were integrated into the movie a little bit more because whenever they are introduced and whenever they are used, the movie just slows down a little bit more. But within those moments, you do have key moments where even though this movie, for the most part, is surrounded in darkness. There's a lot of dreariness around here, and the cinematography for this movie is just absolutely fantastic. Even in small doses, you do get a little bit of heart in this movie. And one of the scenes that I absolutely love is a scene where you have Ed singing to the children and to the mom, can't help falling in love, and you have Lorraine looking at Ed. Just small moments like that is something you don't really get in horror films because all you're looking for is for jump scares and being horrified. What this movie does, and especially the first two Conjuring movies, is that it reflects more on the characters and it gets you to care about the characters a little bit more by adding a little bit more of heart and getting you invested in what's going on. It was one of the best parts about the first film, and it's most definitely the best part about the second film, even though it does have its pacing issues in the second act. Once we get into the third act, it's all ramped up. You can almost forgive the second act for being a little bit more slower than the first act of the film. But overall, this is a movie that I've enjoyed for the longest time. Never really pinpointed out as to why this movie was my favorite, and I think it has to do with the characters and not just a lot of loud bangs and cheap jump scares that ruin the entire movie. It's the characters. You care about the characters. They take you on this journey and you really do fall in love with these characters. You don't want anything bad to happen to these characters. Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga have wonderful chemistry with one another, which makes these movies really watchable and makes you care about them even more. James Wan just knows how to handle characters, vision, jump scares, wrap that up in a wonderful bowl, and you get the best of both worlds. You get the jump scares, tension moments, and you get the character moments, which is something you really don't get in a lot of horror films. And this movie did the one thing that is rare when it comes to sequels, but it's even rare in horror sequels, and that is make it better than the original. I do think that this movie is better than the original. There are just moments that are handled a lot better in this movie than they are in the first film. Even though I do enjoy both of them, I think I just enjoy The Conjuring 2 a little bit more just for the character sakes and just wanting to get behind them, wanting to care about them, and just go on this journey with them just to figure out what's going to happen. But those are my thoughts on The Conjuring 2. Let me know down in the comments if this is a movie that you enjoy more than the first, or if it's just one that could have been better to you. Drop those thoughts in the comments below, and I'll spook you later.